branches. The spirits light up the night, looking down.
Now, from the Untold Radio Network, it's Untold Radio AM with Doug and Alex Hychak.
Hey.
Well, once again, I've never installed that much equipment that quick in my life.
Yeah, we should get a new setup next week.
That's ridiculous.
Right. We need to get you a new studio setup.
Well, it gets worse. It's something you don't know. So I decided to have a snack about a half hour ago. So there's some baked beans in the fridge left over from our birthday party that we had for you and your brother and sister. Okay, so I heat them up in the microwave, have a bowl of that, piece of bread. I'm going to eat. That's going to be my, supper, I guess. And unbeknownst to me, there's a rock in the beans.
Mm-hmm.
A rock.
Right. A rock.
So I go ahead and I start eating the beans and with, pretty quick as I'm trying to hurry. And I bite into it and it completely cracks one of my molars right down to the roots. And part of it's so I have a molar in the back that's like needs emergency dental work as of 10 minutes ago.
Jeez. Ow.
What, do you have braces on?
Do I have braces on?
Yeah. Why? What's going on with your mouth? You don't have braces on.
No.
Your mouth was literally turning black.
Man, I gotta stop eating all that candy.
No, it wasn't real. It was some artifact.
Yeah.
Digital artifact. Anyhow, so thank you everybody for hanging in with us. It has been, I told Alex and Blaine, I said, you guys need to come over and rewire my whole studio.
Yeah, we need to do that. I'm sorry, guys. We've had a rough couple of weeks, but we're going to get this solved for good.
Yeah, he keeps saying that, everybody, but he doesn't do it. We got to actually get him over here to actually work on this studio. Oh, I know. It's a lot of wires and a lot of stuff. Anyhow, tonight we have Steve calls on.
Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be awesome.
The Squatch detective, and we're going to get into it good. I know. Me and Steve talked earlier today before I broke my molar. And what else we got going on? I went to that movie, Sasquatch Sunset.
What did you think of it?
I thought the popcorn was really good.
So it was really.
That's it. That's all I enjoyed
That's
about
all
going
you
to that
want to
movie.
say.
The popcorn was great.
I get it.
The movie, not so much. Yeah. Yep. Oh man, I can actually hear that molar rattling around in there.
Wow.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah. I mean, I must have bit down with 500 pounds of bite force. And it's that dead stop, and you hear that crunch, and I'm like, and that's that tooth I had. I had a filling in it twice because it kept falling out. So I kept drilling it in deeper. You then get it filled, and so it was weak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Teeth. What does it cost to get a tooth fixed on? It's like $4,000.
Yeah, probably at the minimum.
Yeah, at the minimum. You're scaring me.
That's Groupon rates.
Yeah. So it was me, Adam, and Jeff went. And I swear to God, and I hate to tell people this, there was nobody in the theater. It was empty, right? I fell asleep once I caught on to this is like the worst movie. And what did Jeff say? He goes, this is the worst movie since Men in Tights. I fell asleep, and Adam goes, dude, you were snoring in the theater.
So 2 snores up. It was the rating.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the 2 thumbs.
It was 2 snores. Yeah. Anyhow, okay, enough of that crap. In the little bit of news, not a ton this week. This one I found really interesting. And of course, China's taking credit for it. Who knows? But it says China's working on super fast submarines powered by, what do you think? Totally unconventional. It'd be the last thing you would guess.
By the sun.
No, by lasers.
Oh.
So apparently, it says the idea behind the burgeoning technology is this ingenious laser generated plasma. So apparently they generate plasma and it creates this detonation wave, I guess, for lack of a better word. And then it creates a bunch of bubbles and it forms captivation, which basically the submarine is surrounded by air bubbles. They're claiming that this thing should go the velocity of sound under the water, the speed of sound. So think about that a while.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's fast.
That is super fast.
Yep. And apparently there's no noise, no mechanical vibration. So therefore, it's theoretically invisible to radar. Any sonar, I mean. Completely invisible. That's not a good thing if our buds over there get that first.
No.
But I'm sure we're working on the same damn thing. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
All right. There was a huge tornado on the sun. Apparently they have their spring season too. And apparently on the sun, it's caused by what? What do you think causes a tornado on the sun? Here it's hot and cold air and sheer winds on the sun. What would cause it? What do you think? Don't you love it when I put you on the spot?
Lava.
Magnetism versus weather.
Yeah. Magnetism.
And I have a video. I did kind of get you a link to that.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know if you want to play it. It's kind of cool looking.
Let me pull it up here. Did you want the sound on that?
No. There's not much sound on the sun with a tornado. So any sound in there would be fake.
Okay. Just waiting for this ad to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's fine. And then, well, before you play that, I can talk about, oh, there you go. That came up quick. Doesn't that look weird, though? Just seeing that thing.
It looks like tendrils. Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah, just all of the CMEs coming off. Lightning. Looks like what looks like lightning flashes. But there's that tornado.
Wow.
It's the whirling.
Man, it's going out far.
Yep. It is.
That's like way out there. I don't know.
There's another type of image. Yeah, every day. I don't know if you do that. Wake up and I don't take the sun for granted. I don't take anything for granted. It's all a miracle. You wake up, still sunny, still works. We're all here, traveling through the Milky Way at what?
Was it thousands of miles per hour?
Yeah, thousands of miles per hour. But then we're traveling through the Milky Way galaxy at 1 million miles an hour, following, being sucked by the sun. So, anyhow.
That's a lot to take in.
All right. Enough of that. Speaking of space, apparently there was a headline. I don't know if you saw it. The headline was, "It's alive." There is a uniquely weird bacteria growing in the space station.
Really?
Yeah. And they're saying the interior or the environment of the International Space Station is uniquely gross to begin with. I mean, to picture it, there's no ventilation really, right? You can recirculate, but you can't ventilate.
So what do?
You're in the middle of nowhere. And all the breath and the breathing and all the bodily functions. It's all trapped in there. Anyhow, so it says that there is some new stuff growing on the space station, and it's straight up alien, literally. They said that the Jet Propulsion Lab looked at samples of this new drug. Did I say resistant?
Resistant.
Drug resistant. It's called an Entobacter bugensis.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a new bacteria. It's found on the orbital outpost that went to the space station. It says they found strains of this that have mutated into something that literally does not exist on Earth. Well, there we go.
That's
Yeah,
new fear unlocked.
yeah. We'll get you some on a Q-tip.
No,
We'll
thank
bring
you.
some back for you.
Give it away.
We'll swipe it on the ridge of your toilet.
Let's see what happens.
Culture. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let's do some coin trivia because I'm thinking about silver, thinking about my molar, thinking about the work I'm going to get done on my molar tomorrow.
Can I punch the bumper?
You can punch that damn bumper.
Punched.
All right. Now we're just going to put you on the hot seat.
Oh, no.
So something that we use every day, as you see, is coins, right? I don't know about you, but I give all my change away. I can't deal with it. But I'll give it to strangers, but I'll hand it off to like Yvette. Here it is. She'll deal with it.
Do you have a big coin?
Yeah. But
box or
I think
whatever.
everybody does.
Yeah.
But it ends up on the floor. You get change back. You 19 cents. Okay, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Bunch of dirty pennies, dirty dime, and you throw it in your center console. But you always miss, and they go on the floor. They're yeah. I wish it would just round everything off, up or down.
Right.
Because it would come out in the wash eventually.
It would.
Just round everything off, up or down. All right. So, Lori Barnes got me going on coin trivia. She sent me a fact. She asked, what those ridges are on the outside of coins. This is how this started. You know what those were for?
Yeah, those will show that you could skip them easier on the lakes.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, good. It was so if it's people back when they were made out of real silver and gold and things, people would shave them, shave the edges. And so those little ridges would prevent people from shaving the edges.
Oh, okay. And then what they would sell?
Yeah, eventually all the dimes were getting smaller and smaller.
So they'd shave a little off and then.
Yeah. You just keep shaving it off. And there's another reason we'll get to in a minute. It says, this is just a fact. It says coins previously contained gold, silver, and, real copper. The U.S. Mint originally made coins with precious metals like gold, silver. Eventually, it became too costly to use these materials to create coins. Today, the U.S. Mint creates U.S. coins from cupro nickel and copper-plated zinc. So that's what our coins are all made out of now, right?
Right.
They're all nickel. All right. So let me ask you this question: true or false? Did a 2-cent and a 3-cent coin used to exist? True or false?
I'm going to guess true. Yeah.
Okay, it's true. Prior to 1873 and 1889, the U.S. used 2 and 3 cent coins because they were practical. However, as the prices rose, the U.S. Mint discontinued the production of these particular coins. I'm going to see if I can buy a 3-cent coin.
Yeah, I've never seen a 2 cent.
I've never seen one. Maybe they're that rare. I don't know. It doesn't say what they're worth.
Yeah. What could they be worth?
So was the eagle worth $10, $5, or $20? It was a coin called the eagle.
$20.
And these were minted centuries ago. They were $10.
Oh,
Yep.
$10. That's pretty good.
And then they came out with a 250 eagle that was known as the quarter eagle.
So they had two coin for $2.50.
Yes, they had a coin and a $10 coin called an eagle.
So have you seen these ones?
What ones?
The eagle.
No, hell no. I haven't.
Did you know about them?
No. I don't pay attention to change. I already told you that. I've probably given away a lot of rare coins through the years. You know, when you were a kid, I'd hand you my change.
Yeah.
Kids would get all excited.
I probably had a couple eagles, didn't even know it.
Yeah. And, you know, and I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm rich or anything. I've just never liked it.
Yeah.
It ends up in a can somewhere, in a coffee can. And then when you need it, right? You go through a restaurant or a drive-through, and they're like, that'll be $20.03. Do you think you could find 3 cents?
No.
And if you did,
Never.
it's all over your floor.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere but where you need it. Okay. Pennies can remain in circulation for 200 years, 100 years, or 40 years. And what I mean is, that doesn't mean they can't sit in a coffee can, but if the mint sees them or the banks, how long do they allow them to be in circulation?
Probably just 40.
40? You are right. 40 years. 40 years.
So they get rid of them after 40.
So who's doing good in chat? I haven't even been paying. I've been so rattled today. I'm gonna pay attention on these last ones in chat. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. Also, the ridges make coins harder to copy. That was another reason for them. There's 2 reasons. Those little ridges, harder to copy. Okay. The first animal featured on a coin was the following. You have to choose an eagle, a bear, or a turkey.
Eagle, a bear, or a turkey.
What was the first animal to end up on a coin? Eagle, bear, or turkey? First one in chat to get
Probably
it right.
an eagle.
Jim says a turkey. John says a turkey. Steve says an eagle. So Steve and Alex were right. The who makes the most coins in the world? What country? Who makes the most coins? Is it China? The U.S.?
Or the U.S., if it's between China and the U.S.
All right, it's the U.S. That's your guess. Everybody's telling you to look up, man. You're cheating. I think he's got those cheating eyes.
The cheating eyes.
Got the cheating eyes. It's the United States. Just Steve said Spain.
Spain. That wasn't one of the multiple choice.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Who was the first president on a coin? George Washington or Lincoln? Who was the first?
Washington.
George Washington is Alex's guess. I see Steve is in the back room. He said Washington. John Ayers says Lincoln. It was Lincoln. I would have guessed Washington too. You know, the first president would be on the first coin. Here's one I found interesting. How many coins are in the world? Now, let's give you an example of how much a billion is. This will really hit home to you guys. Because no matter what the answer, it was shocking to me. How many billions of coins are there in the U.S.? The entire U.S., I don't care if they're in cans and cash drawers, wherever. Total, how much money, if you got every coin in the entire country, how much would they total up to? Is it 5 billion, 75 billion, or 10 billion?
10 billion.
Alex says 10 billion. Jen says 50 billion. Squatch says 75. It is 10 billion.
10 billion.
That doesn't, I mean, that's not much money.
It's not.
We
if you
just
think
gave
about it.
Ukraine another, whatever it was, 61 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, it was close
There's
to
only
100.
10 billion coins. That'd be like saying, okay,
Here's all our coins.
here's all of our coins times 6 in the entire country. That's crazy. Picture the mound. Picture the mound of every coin in the country in one place.
That's a
One
big
pile.
mound.
That's a huge mound.
Yeah. That's
All right.
massive mound.
That's it for trivia. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, what is next on the docket?
That was just the funnest trivia ever.
I loved it. Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, that was Lori's. Well, yeah, it was Lori's idea. I liked it. I liked it. All right, what do we got next? We have a couple of supposedly funny clips based on me.
Can I smash the bumper?
Go ahead and smash that damn bumper. So just Steve asked, how many real dollars are in 10 billion? That's it. If you took everything in circulation, as far as coins, and everything in people's drawers and, whatever cars, everything total is 10 billion. Oh, I think that's what you were asking, Steve. Okay, what else we've got here? Video 1. They don't try. You're gonna have to play it a couple times. I think it's funnier than heck.
Do you want the sound on?
Oh, absolutely. Full blown. One more time. Don't try this. It's like that's the attitude. The reason I found that clip funny, because one time I went camping with your bro.
And what happened?
Right?
Josh, yeah.
And we're up in Superior National Forest, and it had been raining all night. And he gets up before I did. And I wake up finally, and I'm hearing all these trees coming down. Like tree after tree. Literally whole trees coming down.
Whole trees.
And I peek out the thing, and I focus my eyes, and there's Josh pushing trees down.
You're just pushing them over.
Pushing whole trees down, birch trees. He was a kid. He was a little kid. He didn't know.
Yeah. Whoops.
God knows he pushed 100 of them down. Yeah, they weren't rotten. They were like living birch trees that were big. As the soil is so thin up north. The roots are kind of growing on top of a rock. It doesn't take much to push them down.
So he didn't know better.
No. Oh, no. I could tell you Josh stories. Okay. He did other things with like beaver dams he shouldn't have done.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. One time I saw a flood coming down a mountain when we were up in Canada. Where he literally, like it was like out of a movie. This giant flood coming over the top of this mountain. And I knew it right away what had happened. And him and Josh, or his friend and Josh, would go up there and they'd be up there for hours every day, disappear. And I let him, I had to let him have some freedom. They were with somebody. All they were doing was picking away at that beaver dam. And there was a whole lake up there. So when they finally got the last thing out that just broke through, an entire lake drained.
Oh my God.
Not a pond,
Well,
a whole lake.
A whole lake.
Yep.
Oh,
I was
man.
washing dishes, looking out the window, and I'm watching this lake come over the top of the mountain. The beavers patched it up in a day, and I'm sure it filled right back up again. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
All right. Video 2. I don't know if you're a cat or have you ever seen this where a cat, they know what the word means, bath. And cats don't like baths. Dogs, most of them don't like to be bathed either. Go ahead and play video 2. Sounds good.
Yeah. You gotta take a bath though, okay? You have to. No, you're faking. You're fake sleeping. No, you're not sleepy. You wanna go for a walk? You are
That's how easy it is to fool a dog. All you gotta say, you want to take a walk? Yeah. Shows how smart they are, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. I gotta be careful when I use the food word around my cat.
The food word, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even spelling it, they learn. Oh, I had a dog too. He knew how to spell elbow. We would do everything we could do to try to, keep that information from the dog, and he always knew what we were doing. Okay. Let's do tech breakdown, and of course, you get to play another bumper.
Yeah. And totally up to you. So Steve's in the back room. I
Sure,
don't
we can
want
let
him to
Steve in.
join for.
Perfect.
Okay, so
I
I'll
love
play
it
the.
when people join for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll play the bumper and we'll get him on here.
Yep. Please.
All right.
I'm here. You can't see me, but I'm
Where'd
here.
you go? All right.
I'm here. Okay, so today's topic's pretty simple. I want to talk about getting daytime film footage, not video footage, film footage. A lot of people, and there's reasons. One, it would be very, very important if we could.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I
Oh,
apologize.
what?
Should we get Steve on now and then we can do a formal introduction later? Oh, hey, sorry, Dad, your mic got looks like it's muted. Maybe it got disconnected. Dad, I'm sorry, your mic is muted.
Let's just finish and then I'll get Steve on.
Oh, okay, cool. No problem. All right. So, what you were saying with tech breakdown?
Did. Oh God, here we go again.
I hear you.
You're on mute, Alex.
I'm on mute.
Your StreamYard is muted. I can't hear. Here we go again.
1 second, guys.
What do you want to do? Why don't you just click off StreamYard and come back in?
Okay. All right.
There we go. I don't know what the deal is. I think ever since StreamYard updated their software, we've been having just problems. We're going to switch to a different software. Okay. So anyhow, what I was saying, a lot of people wonder why we're not getting footage on camera traps. I wonder this too. And some people say, well, they sense electricity. Are you there now?
Yeah.
There we go. You realize that there's something going on with the software.
Yeah. We're gonna do a complete rebuild of your studio tomorrow.
I don't think it was my studio. You were the one that just had the problem, not me. I think it's something else.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but something's going on. Anyhow, back to this for the 4th time now. This is my 4th start on technological breakdown. You ready? Everybody ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay. So people say, well, maybe they sense electricity. Maybe they see the IR flash. So I'm going to address all those. But let's just address the electricity people that claim, they can sense electricity, the cameras. And you could be right. We don't know. That's the beauty of this mystery. We know nothing. So, but here is a way that you can avoid completely any electricity. All right. So go on eBay somewhere, go to garage sales. There are film cameras. I've talked about this before. There's 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter, and 35 millimeter film cameras. You can still buy them. You can still buy film for all of the above. I recommend a 16 millimeter. It's kind of a nice compromise.
Nice.
And a fixed focus lens. You don't have to worry about focus. Get the thing, get it running. All it's got to do is literally the gate's got to move, and you got to hear the clicking, and the thing's got to, you're got to be able to wind it up. And when you hit the trigger, it's got to run. Okay. So what I've been wanting to do forever is to develop an organic, either a figure 4 or a pin trigger device that is spring loaded that pushes the trigger on the film camera. So you can run a vine to a little micro pin, run a vine, and it can be triggered naturally. The film camera will go off and it'll start filming, right? And so Eric took my challenge up. Eric Sorensen, he took my challenge up and started designing something for his 3D printer. And he describes himself as a poor Elon Musk.
Love it.
He said and I agree. But I like to think of him as a rich Bob Lazar kind of guy, right? He's real inventive. He builds anything. He's kind of a jack of all trades. But anyhow, so he builds this thing and he comes over late last night. He gets it working. And it is pretty flawless. And he will share this 3D file with anybody that wants it, and they can print it on their 3D printer. By the way, 3D printers cost $30-$40 now. They're not even expensive anymore.
Right. Anyone can have them.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy one. Trust me. You might love it. It's a great new hobby. Anyhow, but he develops this really simple thing powered by rubber bands and a pin. And I'm going to have you throw up the video that was attached in that email.
Okay. Yeah, I got the video.
Yep. Let's watch it in action. So, okay, don't play it yet.
Sure.
So this thing you can just strap it on your camera, your film camera. This happens to be an 8 millimeter. He paid $10 for the camera. Works perfect, right? These things are available all over on eBay. And you wind them up and there's a trigger. All of them have a trigger. And this would be so easy to adapt to any camera, like any model, any type. And so let's go ahead and see it. And you see that green wire? You see the green wire?
Yeah.
That would be the pin. And then so that instead of a wire, I would use a vine.
Okay.
And I would stretch the vine across a path or a trail. And I would test it on deer first, to make sure it works. But anyhow, go ahead and play it now, and I'll pull the trigger. You can see how easy this works. Go ahead. So that pin just keeps that spring-mounted lever from hitting the button. That's all it does.
Oh,
He took the whole concept, simplified it, made it really cool.
we play that again.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead. And just like that, you're filming Bigfoot. No electronics at all. None. So go get a 16 millimeter film camera. And also, I will show the parts. There's a photo attached. I think it's photo. I'll tell you here. Photo 22. Yep, there you go. That's it. And you can print this yourself. The only thing you'll need is a coat hanger for the hinge, that hinge pin. And you'll need your own rubber bands. But you can print this yourself and it'll operate. You may have to make the arm just a little bigger, a little smaller. But once you get the idea of this thing, it'd be easy to adapt to any camera. It's pretty cool.
That's super clever.
Yep, and we will be using these in Alleged Meet Science Theme. It will be part of the doc. We're going to put a number of film cameras in a good area, and
So the key thing, right, is there's so many problems with electronics when people are trying to get footage. So
Well, we haven't. No, the problem is we haven't gotten any game trail footage,
yeah, like
video or stills. It doesn't make any sense. So people say, well, they can see in the IR. Yeah, but the IR illuminators aren't working until the passive sensor says to work. So that wouldn't be it. Steve, we're going to talk a little bit about that. He suggested to me maybe they're watching a deer walk in front of them, and then the IR is triggered. That's also a possibility.
Yeah.
I suggest they may see in the UV range, and under the UV range, plastics glow, and that white cover on the passive cell glows. That I did prove. It glows bright with IR vision. So, and let's go ahead and throw some film cameras up that I found on eBay. Photo 20, I don't know. It's just, you see those ones, some film camera pictures. Photo 21.
Okay. Yep.
Photo
21.
Yep. This is a typical Keystone 16 millimeter fixed focus lens. You can put it on an infinity. And the button is right there. That's the button, I believe. You wind it up, and so that same thing would work on this camera. And then I think there's photo 20. Yeah, photo 20. Throw that up.
Okay. Yeah. I got photo 20.
This is a Kodak 16 millimeter. Probably similar to the one Roger Patterson used. And remember, the Roger Patterson creature was quite far away. We're looking for clear, close-up, daytime footage. No, these are not going to work at night. Dusk, yeah, they would work. But totally at night, nope. But, the night footage is worthless anyhow. Why not go for the El Bonanza?
Right.
Full enchilada and get that clear daytime footage. These things do walk around in the day, trust me.
Exactly. I mean,
They get up, they scratch their butt, they get a drink of water, they probably have a snack, and maybe they lay down again, but they're up and they move around. A lot of really good sightings have happened at 2 p.m. So there you go. And I've talked to a lot of witnesses that have seen them. So that's that. I don't know if there's any questions. John Ayers said, yes, come Kodak my backyard.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I really do. I mean, you could use monofilament line for a trigger. A monofilament glows under UV light. I wouldn't do it. Braided line would be better. Green and black braided line. Just don't get it. That stuff's sharp. I don't like that stuff. I would just use a vine. Get a grapevine. Get a dried one. Get a green one. Find a new one. Hide the camera completely except for the lens. Paint the lens black. I mean, these things are dirt cheap. $24 for a camera. Isn't that amazing?
That's nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And throw up this too. Last thing. Throw up photo 24 right on Amazon. You can get film.
Oh,
This
that's
is
so
16
cool.
millimeter. They still sell it.
You can
And
still
I
buy it.
do know you can get it developed real easy. Even Walmart still develops it.
So you can actually still go to Walmart and get this stuff developed.
Yeah. Yep. And I will say it ain't cheap anymore.
How is this stuff priced out? Like
It's $71 for a 100-foot reel.
Okay.
But you don't need 100 foot in the camera.
What is What is like 100 feet? Like is in seconds or minutes, or how is that calculated?
100 foot's probably a good 3 minutes, 4 minutes. You wouldn't need
Okay.
that much. You could break that up into
Yeah.
quite a few short lengths. And remember, you can't expose film to light. So it has to be changed by feel in a dark room. You have to learn. Just go to YouTube. I mean, everything's available to teach you how to do it. When I did Legend Meets Science 1, we shot that in 35 millimeter, and we had to change our film camera in a bag. So you put the camera in a bag, and it's dark in there, and you do it all by feel.
Okay, so it doesn't ruin the film.
Doesn't run the film. Yeah. Yep.
Did that ever happen on any shoots that some got
No,
ruined?
I
They
didn't
got
ruin any
exposed?
film. No, but
That's
you do worry about it. Yeah, you worry.
It's gotta be stressful.
Yep. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about in tech breakdown is last week we spent a lot of time talking about hummingbird sounds, right?
Right, we got a couple clips here.
Yeah. And Sammy, I don't know how do you pronounce your name, Sammy. Touchevy or Tushevy. Alex, you want to take a stab at how to pronounce Sammy's name?
Oh, I would just
That's it.
butcher it.
Well, I just did. So sorry about that. Anyhow,
But
he had
pre-
heard us talking about it, sent some clips of hummingbird like wing sounds. He recorded and he just blew it off as some cat or something purring at his mic. Right? Do you have those clips?
Yeah. So this is the first one. They're each about a minute.
Well, you can get rid of the Kodak.
Say again?
I said you could get rid of the Kodak.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Stand by. It's coming. You didn't pre-listen to these clips, did you?
I did, but it was hard for me to pick out what we should be showing.
Well, it's the hummingbird wing sound. I don't hear it in this clip.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was missing it. I'm like, play the other one. Do you hear the growl?
I hear like breathing and stuff. Let's go to the next clip.
Okay, sure. This is purring and munching. I can hear like a snorting.
Are you sure this isn't the same clip you just played?
Oh, they're different. They're labeled different.
I don't hear the hummingbird.
I know. I was trying to find it too, and maybe it's really subtle, but I couldn't find it.
No, it was not subtle. It was really clear what I heard. They were clear, and I forwarded them off to David. Go ahead and play it, the last one.
Okay. I just was there more than two? I thought that was all.
Is that all you have is two? Oh my God. Okay, well, so much for that. I'll have to talk to Sammy and get him again. I probably gave you the wrong two. It's typical of my day today. It's fine. It's the way my day's going.
No, that's cool. I really like the camera stuff. Did you want to jump into the Doug's clips?
Yeah, we can do that, or we can. Yeah, I don't have many of them this week. Let's do it real quick.
Okay. You cool if I hit the bumper?
You go ahead and hit the bumper.
All right.
Clip 1, sound is not needed. This is the rarest bird in North America. Everybody should know. What is the rarest bird in North America? What do you think it is?
Isn't like a bald eagle super rare? But I'm assuming it's
No,
something
they're
else.
everywhere.
They're
No,
everywhere? Really? Weren't they like almost extinct for a while?
yeah, but I see a bald eagle every day now. At least
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, it's called the bare-throated tiger heron.
Oh, that's exotic.
They've only been seen a few times, literally in history,
What
and
is
I
it?
think filmed twice. That's it. They're going to show it here. They're going to zoom in. It's pretty cool. Can you just? There it is.
Wow. Yeah,
That's fine.
it's pretty cool.
Not that you're going to see one. Next, clip 2.
Next. Okay.
Sound is fine. This is the clearest water that you will ever see in your life. This water simply does not exist. Look at this. Watch these trout. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful?
I know. It's like they're floating in space.
Yeah, that is some clear. I've been to some really clear places, like even Weeki Wachee and river is amazing, but that's nothing compared to this.
It almost
Isn't it
doesn't look
beautiful?
real. It's so clear. It's incredible.
No, it doesn't even look real. All right. Enough of that. Clip 3, no sounds needed. This is killer whales. These things are not dumb. Watch what they do. Watch this. These things are brilliant. Let's watch this. They create a wave to wash these seals right off the iceberg. The ice flow. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's smart. It's
And they all group together so they can create a big wave. It takes some thought, man.
Yeah. You gotta be smart.
Ugh. All right, enough of that.
Glad that's not me.
You get yeah. I'm glad it wasn't you on that ice flow. The clip 4 is no sound, but this guy paints with light, and he uses like fast film and a slow shutter rate, and he paints with light. It's pretty cool. Clip 4, no sound. You can see him. This is kind of what he normally looks like, but he's painting pictures that's being captured.
Whoa. That's really sweet.
Isn't that cool?
So the
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
yeah, that's so
You
unique.
could even do that. That'd be fun to try it. Okay, enough of that. Oh, by the way, I was writing in my notes the word shutter, because he uses a very slow shutter speed. I wrote shitter instead of shutter.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's stuff you do when you get older. Clip 5, last clip. Then we're going to bring Steve on. And we've got hours with Steve if we need to. So clip 5, sound is fine. Did you ever think about the word hello?
In what way? Like
who invented the word? Where did it come from?
No, just
How did it originate?
took it for granted.
We use it obviously a lot. Every day we use it, right? Go ahead and play clip 5. Sounds good.
Well, here's something I didn't know until today. You know the song this frog sings in the old Looney Tunes cartoon?
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Well, that song is a novelty song making fun of the word hello, which was new when the song came out. See, the word hello as a greeting only goes back to the invention of the telephone. You may have heard the trivia that when Alexander Graham Bell was developing the phone, he wanted people to shout the word ahoy into the phone when they answered. And it was Thomas Edison who convinced people to start saying hello, which prior
That
to
hello one.
that word was used to express surprise. It wasn't something you would say as a greeting to someone on the street. You would say good morning or something like that. So that song from 1899 was a novelty song making fun of this crazy new slang that everybody was doing on this wacky new invention. In fact, lots of our greetings and gestures are way more recent than you think. The high five That was invented in my lifetime in the mid 70s.
All
The
right. It's
term
enough of
high
that
five
crap.
wasn't.
Anyhow, you get there. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I didn't know it was that recent.
So I think we need to start saying ahoy.
Ahoy, Captain.
Anyhow, all right. Steve. Let me give Steve a little intro here. So Steve Kulls began his professional career as a private investigator, right? And that's certain types of people that kind of are attracted to that field, right? And he did loss prevention, etc. Okay. His background in investigations in both civil, family, and criminal fields provided him with a really good, solid foundation for his later work in cryptozoology. I agree. That would be a great help, allowing him to apply rigorous investigative techniques to studying these elusive creatures. Now I'm going to cut forward. Steve has been featured in Monster Quest as an example. He's been on Nat Geo. He's been on Discovery Channel, History Channel. The latest is The Proof is Out There. He's been on the Bigfoot panel for the History Channel. He's been on Fox News, Discovery Networks, blah blah blah. So he's been around, and he's kind of a, I don't know, a stable fixture,
Pillar of the community.
pillar in our community. Let's bring
Yeah.
Steve on.
Hey, Steve.
Ahoy!
Ahoy! Could you imagine? Isn't that weird? And hello is so recent. I didn't know that.
But you know, in all the languages, it sounds so similar. You know, you have hollow in Germany. They actually say hollow in Germany as well. Like hollow. They have mahalo, Hawaiian,
Yep.
hola in
Hola in
Spanish.
Spanish.
So it's all very similar. It's
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff out there. Anyhow, so I don't know where we want to start, but I would like to start right off into telling us about one of your first encounter, and then we're going to backtrack from there, because to me it kind of ends there, because at that point you're a changed person, right? Do you agree?
I was a changed person when I had my first sighting through equipment.
Okay.
When I actually saw it through night vision, that really turned me. But when I had seen it first time with my naked eyes, using a flashlight, no doubt it changed my perspective. And I think you can kind of see that. I did throw you that video. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I haven't seen it. Alex probably has.
You see me that I am so like, I'm awestruck. And at the same, and you know, I have these little beady, slitty eyes here. But when I'm talking, my eyes are like.
Can I ask you, because you said the first time you saw it was during with night vision?
Yeah, a long time ago, back in the mid 2000s, I was down in Texas and I had seen what I believed was one with night vision, both in Texas and in Alabama. And it was fleeting. It was really quick. And, you know, it wasn't the greatest night vision equipment in the world, but you could see this something black, dark, upright going basically the last few seconds into a wood line.
Wow.
And, but this time it was standing there watching our campfire.
Well, okay. Well, where did that happen? And just what led up to it?
Well, I have an area in the Adirondacks. I call it Research Area 1. That was my first area that I ever went to. In 2000, I had gotten an encounter report from a gentleman who him and his wife were hiking up there. And he predicated it by like, listen, I've been hiking these trails all my life. I grew up here. We went off trail about a quarter of a mile. And we stopped at this stream. And after several minutes, something began to scream at us. And he goes, and this is exactly what he said. I've encountered everything that's up here. I've encountered bears and bobcats and all that. But whatever was screaming at me, I could feel it vibrating in my chest. So I said to my wife, we better get out of here. So we start going back to the trail. And it turns around and it actually does another few screams as they're going back the trail. But he says, I kept looking off to my right, which it was kind of paralleling us. And the reason why I knew it was paralleling us was because as they were moving, they could see it moving out of the corner of his eye from tree to tree to tree. And it was very dark and it was tall and it was upright. And it followed us out, until we got to the trail. And then it followed us a little bit after that. And then it just kind of stopped. So that's what brought me up to that area. And to me, that was a very territorial thing. It's very aggressive. It's screaming aggressively. It's giving them an escort out of the area. So it's protecting that area for some reason. So likely it may be a territorial behavior. So that's what brought me up there. And after 12 years of going up there, 2011 actually was the first sighting. I had my first naked eye sighting. And what had happened was we had a little expedition going on with a team I was using from a paranormal group. And we had been out in several operations groups, and we had a base camp group. And I believe we had 3 operations groups. Ops 1 was our group that, I had my assistant director at the time, who was a former Marine, and he was actually a sniper during the Gulf War. And so he was leading that team, and it had the team videographer, because I had a videographer going on with us. And we all come back and we're all hearing these noises. We're hearing something pitter pattering, walking around. A couple of teams heard some what they felt was like a, type of huffing or growling at them. So we're all back. All right. We've been out for 2.5 hours. Everybody come back in. We'll grab something to eat. We'll debrief and we'll redeploy. So, of course, if anybody knows me and my sense of humor and my camp and the people I surround myself, it's pretty hysterical. We're all eating, and after we debrief, we're eating and we're kind of chuckling and laughing and having a good time. And I'm like, okay, it's about 9 o'clock or 9:30 or so. It's time to go get I said, I need batteries for my headlamp. So I walk out the little path to my car. And again, this is a dirt road in the Adirondack State Park. There are some utility poles that are there. And I go in my car, grab my batteries, throw them in my pocket, light a smoke up, and I shine my flashlight downhill, which is to the north. And that, for the most intent part, was where a lot of the activity was going on throughout the years. And, I'm looking, and I just turn around, look up the north, and they're standing next to the utility pole, obviously watching our campfire and all our noises and laughing, and probably the smell of some food too. Was this 7'8", 8 foot tall Bigfoot standing right next to the utility pole, kind of trying to minimize its profile a bit. And it immediately looked at me, and I could see the outline of it, the silhouette of it very clearly. And I could see these 2 dark orange glowing eyes, and they were blinking at me. Dark orange.
Okay.
So, and mind you, at the time I was using a krypton bulb. So it was a little more whiter than per se an incandescent. Because a lot of times when people were reporting eye shines, they were saying it was red, but they were using that yellowish incandescent type of light at the time.
Yellow.
So now I'm using this krypton bulb, which is a whiter light. So and again, it's about 100 feet away. So even the light is, it's not like lighting it up like a big, 1800 lumen. I mean, this is 2011. So the real big lumen flashlights, did not start coming out until later with the digital technology. I mean, back then you used to have a big reflector like that to throw a really big beam at something. And I just froze. And I stood there what could have been 30, 40, 50 seconds. I'm not really even sure, because I wasn't timing. I just froze just to watch it. I'm just going, and I'm just like focusing on it. And, it's blinking. And, one of the first things it did, when it turned to me, it immediately looked around, like to its back, like it's planning its getaway. And I just went like that, trying to get a reaction, and it just turned and walked into the woods. And I think it might have been sitting there sizing me up. Well, it's shining the light up here, but it hasn't moved. Does it see me? So I'm going to stand still as possible. Mm-hmm. And then the minute it saw some light movement, it decided, okay, now it's time to get out. So I immediately call in my first ops team. You need to get out here right now. I didn't want to put it over there that I had a sighting. I didn't want to panic anybody. So they came walking out, and I was telling them, there was one just standing right there. So the cameraman immediately starts filming me. So that video I sent you guys, that was like a minute or two right after my sighting.
Is now a good time to bring it up, Steve?
Yeah, let's play it. Let's play it right now.
Just a couple.
Quick.
This was standing right to the right of the telephone pole.
Okay.
And it was standing literally, I'm going to put the bottom edge of the beam, how tall it was off the ground, about there. And I could see the eyes, and then it just turned around. I could just see it move back, and then it turned around up again in there, looking back down this way, and then it turned around again and proceeded.
Yeah, you're never going to cut them off. You're never going to cut them off, Steve. So.
You have Amy and Stacy at the fire. All right, send them on out. I'm going to post them due north of our location.
Seeing if we see any imprints.
We're on our way out.
Amy or Stacy, do you have a radio?
Now they're looking around, and they'll eventually find the dig that it actually stepped into and went into the forest.
Unless right there.
Right there.
Okay, team one up there.
Okay.
Look at that.
OP1.
Look at that.
Make sure your lights are out. No white light, no red light, no nothing. Just go dark.
Right here.
That looks.
Roger, I'm OP1.
Right here's a ledge where you just get locked up, you guys.
Roger that. We're looking for sign right now, and I think we might have
You could have just walked right up here,
we
though.
might have
There's rocks.
seen a scrape here, but I'm not
Unless
sure.
that's a print. You might want to have to look at
Roger that. Let's just hunker down and listen and feel.
Yeah, it does.
And
Looks like it just fell.
show your lights. We're going to try something.
Yeah. So
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
And at the same time, I'm trying to keep my cool because everybody's like, "What do we do?" And I was like, "Okay, let's put a team to the north of us. Let's put it. We got the base camp team, and they were hearing stuff walking around the camp."
So were you trying your best to make sure no one else panicked?
Well, yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all part of it, and because we didn't want any brown pants scenarios.
Brown pants scenarios.
You mean you didn't want any shitters instead of shutters?
Yeah, that is correct. We all have to watch our shitter speed.
Yes. Yes. Anyhow. By the way, if Abe's in the audience, I did make hard-boiled eggs today for breakfast, and it came out flawless. No explosions. Did good. Anyhow, okay, so you go home that night. Is just everything normal, or is your paradigms that's a life-changing, especially to see it face forward like its eyes.
You know what? The strange thing is since I've had some of the equipment sightings, it ran in my mind. It ran in my mind quite a bit. But I went to bed with the almost like it finally happened. I finally got to see it with my own beady eyes.
Yeah.
And I slept like a baby that night. Excited, but slept like a baby. And that was because I accomplished at least one of the bucket list things I have in this field off the list. I've seen one, with my own naked eyes. And little did I know that about a year later, I would see a juvenile one the following year in the same area, same camp.
Juvenile?
Same area.
Really? Yeah. How well did you see the juvenile?
Juvenile, I saw a lot better than I saw the 8-foot one.
Really?
Yeah. And we were shooting with when I saw the juvenile, we were shooting for America's Book of Secrets on the History Channel.
Yep, a great show.
And we had traveled from we were doing the Chautauqua Lake Bigfoot Expo in Mayville, New York, and we had to drive from the very western part of New York State all the way back to I-90 to Albany, and then spur north to the Adirondacks. So it was about with stops and pit stops, it was about a 7.5, 8-hour drive, and then we had to get there. It had been raining all day, and in fact, it rained almost the whole week. So we had to set up our camp in the rain, collect wood in the rain, and we were collecting a lot of birch because birch has this skin on it that has oils in it, and it doesn't matter if you can get some good kindling under it, get a fire going. wet or not, it'll ignite those oils. It'll bring them to flame point. So we were collecting a lot of birch, and it was like, no, we're not gonna, and then we would try to log on some maple or whatever, oak or whatever else we could find fallen, and see if it would kind of get that to flashpoint. So we were beat, but they came in, they said, okay, we know you're not going out tonight. Can we just do some brief interviews? And they did. And they left about 7 or 8 o'clock in the afternoon. And of course, we've been on the road since like 7 in the morning. So, so again, I'm in my element. We got the fire going. We had a really nice camp going. We had Jeff Thomas from Georgia, Wayne Larson and Melissa Hubby from Ohio, and myself. That's who was staying there at the camp. We would bring in other elements the next night from another team that was local, and we could use them to, augment us. And so as usual, because it had been raining, Jeff kept his pillow and blanket in his Jeep out on the road because he wasn't sure, new tent. He didn't want it, leaking all over his pillow and blanket. So he ended up going out to his vehicle about 11 o'clock or so at night, putting it in his tent and going to bed. Me and Wayne stayed up till about another hour. Melissa had already gone to bed, and we go to bed. So about an hour and a half goes by, and I have to use a tree. So I unzip my tent. I step out and I look to my left, which was towards the road, because my tent was actually facing south. And there it was, a 5.5 foot one gone right across the area where the trail is between, the camp and the cars. And my first reaction to that was like, nah, I couldn't have seen that. Used the tree, went back to bed. The next morning, and I'm laying there, actually, and I'll say I'm laying there going, my God, that was just so vivid. There is this 5.5 foot, long-haired, lanky, reddish, or I should say brown with a tint of red in it, hair just running through. It's a full moon that night, but I also laid a caveat that there was a lot of cloud cover, but the way the moon was hitting the clouds, it made the whole thing look like kind of like a nightlight, almost like a lighting umbrella, like you would,
like it was diffused lighting.
Right. Yep.
How did it walk, Steve? I hate to interrupt you, but how did this thing run or walk? Was there anything weird about it?
It was quick.
Okay.
I mean, it was like zoom. And I'm like, no. And I didn't even bother like going, well, what was that? I just was like, I was just so taken aback and off by it. And then I kind of like, no, I couldn't have just seen that. I'm just.
It sounds like you're describing something very smooth.
Yes, it was very smooth. Very smooth. I mean, maybe I saw it for like 3 to 4 seconds. Wow. Because what happened was the minute I got up and I started unzipping my tent, it was in the process of taking off anyway. So I just happened to catch a fleeting glimpse of it getting out of Dodge. And what it was doing probably was watching our camp.
Do you think the sound of your tent scared it off?
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, me getting up too, and then scrambling to find everything, and like, somebody's there, because I think a lot of times when it gets really quiet, they're like, is somebody there or not? I think that's part of the reasons why occasionally they'll log rocks into camp, is to get a reaction. Is somebody there? No reaction. I'm going to get closer. Somebody there? And then if somebody moves, gone. But the next morning, and I was about to write it off. It's like, I must have just, I don't know. I must have been in a dream state or something like that. I can't. And the next morning, Jeff wakes me up, the guy from Georgia. He's like, Steve, you got to get up. What's the matter? What's the matter? He goes, something left a birch log behind my Jeep last night. And behind his Jeep, directly where he would have tripped over it to get his pillow and blanket, was this birch log.
How big?
Maybe about 3.5 feet. Wasn't anything huge, but we did find where it was picked out of. It was picked out of across the road in this muck. So something walking, you know, ankle deep into this water, this little swampy thing, and picked it right up because we could see where it was broken off the other one. You know, it naturally cracked, but there's the impression of the log in the mud. Like, so something went into that mud, picked it up, put it behind the truck.
Wow.
So it's like, I'm totally befuddled by it. I mean, to this day. Now, the interesting thing is we all said, you know, we ought to leave something back for it. And like, you know, I'm not big on this whole gifting thing, but yeah, maybe we should. But then we get filming the next night, completely forget. And we go to bed probably around 1 o'clock in the morning. And it may have been like, and I remember, and I actually have that on recording somewhere. And I remember we all go to bed, and I left the recorder going. And all of a sudden, we're in bed about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes. It's really getting quiet in the camp because we're all trying to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden, we hear something slap, not hit, slap one of our vehicles. And we're like, I mean, you could hear boom. And there was no dents on any of the vehicles, nothing. And I remember Wayne going, what the hell was that? No, I'm sorry, I said that. And Wayne goes, I heard that. And then Jeff and the other 10 goes, well, I'm up now. And, you know, we go out, we start looking around, and, you know, there's nothing that fell on the vehicles. And even a little acorn, if it falls on one of the vehicles, it'll leave a little divot in the vehicle.
Yeah, a slight. Did that happen kind of a little more like 3, 4 in the morning?
No, it was like literally
early,
15 minutes, a half hour after we went to bed. Of course, we were sitting at the campfire again at the after
well, you
shooting.
know what? I have a theory on that, and then when they do stuff like that, that's kind of a goodbye. That's their grand finale, meaning they're already done. You guys went to bed. They're now disinterested. So it did a kind of a grand finale, like gorillas pound the glass and they leave.
Right. Yeah. And that very well could have been because nothing else happened that night.
Yeah.
Now,
right,
the next night, Wayne and Melissa caught something during the day off in the distance. Of course, it's October and the leaves are dropped, and they caught something off in the distance, almost like a tall, dark figure, but it was very brief. And we ended up shooting the FLIRs at it, and we couldn't really find it after that. But the problem is there's a lot of drop-offs in that area. So something could watch us and then walk 10 feet and be down under our eye level.
Very, very interesting. So, okay. So, have you ever had your tents bothered in all these expeditions you've done where they've come in and, you know, breathed loud through the tent or made any weird noises that you've kind of blown off all these years? Has anything happened in it, you know, while you were in the tent other than the car getting slapped?
You know, I've spent a lot of days in a tent over the years, and nothing that I would write home to. You know, there would be stuff that like, that was kind of interesting, or you might hear a noise that was kind of interesting and may even get me up and back out into the common area where the tent city is.
Yeah.
And, but nothing that I would really clearly say, although there was one time in Texas, a Virginia researcher by the name of Tom Lancaster made a claim that something while he was sleeping reached into the tent and touched his foot. And he looked down, he saw the hand go real quick, and that was it. And he was in terror and got up and was gone. But we were all in camp that night. We didn't hear we didn't experience that, but they were kind of on the outer side of all the tents. So, yeah, I don't know about that. That was the only weird thing but we've had stuff go on during expeditions and noises. In fact, we just in the same area at the very same campsite, we went out this September 20, I think it was September 30th. Or it could have been actually turning into October for October 1st. Right after the Whitehall Sasquatch Calling Festival. And some of the actual members that were there actually in the audience in chat. We all went up to Research One. I took them as my guest. I like doing that. I had with me Mike Lucci from the Catskill group, and we had Alexander Petikoff. And we went out there, and you know, I had one of my guys sitting up there for a while, making sure nobody took our spot, because that can happen, but it was dead out there. And we had, you know, I stayed in camp, and I had some of the group in the camp, and then about another 6 or 7 went out, and they were going to take a walk down the road, and they kind of stopped because, and I didn't know why they stopped at the time, but they were seeing something in their thermals off to the northwest. And I didn't know what they were doing. They didn't really radio it into me. So we're just kind of, so I start doing my usual, because I go up there every year and I always call out and say, hello, I'm here, whatever. Part of that primate recognition aspect. They can audibly recognize voices. So I was like, come on, guys, you know, I'm here, you know, let's, don't be afraid. Come on. Like, okay, I did my thing, what I usually do when I'm here. And about just several minutes after that, in the audio, you can hear them going, what was that? And go, oh, that's Steve, you know, that's, and yeah, the audio was actually being recorded by a guy making a documentary about New York and the Adirondack Bigfoot stories. His name is Eric Swanson. And they're talking about looking at this thing in a thermal imager, like looks like eyes. So, well, I don't know, could it be a rock? But I've never seen a rock be that bright and blah. And it's, man, but you know, the buggy thing, it's just standing there, really. And then all of a sudden you hear this whoop call. And a few seconds goes by and they respond. I'm going, okay, they're doing whoops. And then all of a sudden I see Alex run. So I go out to Alex, what's going on? He's going, well, did you hear that whoop? I go, I heard 2 whoops. Yeah, the second one is us responding to it. That first one was from the northwest, which is the direction they were looking at this eye shine from. So, and that was the event, and that was basically it for the night.
Do you feel these things are dangerous, or do you feel pretty safe when you're
I feel pretty safe. I feel pretty safe. And the reason why is in all the primate studies I've showed, or I've read, primates of one species rarely attack primates of other species, with the exception of some cultural differences. You know, like some groups of chimps will eat monkeys. Some Homo sapiens will eat monkeys. But for the most part, it's kind of taboo to eat. You know, we look at it and go, oh, who wants a monkey arm? I don't. Yuck. But the reason why a scientist watched macaques of one species enter a territory of macaques of another species, and guess what they did? They did exactly what other Bigfoots do to people. They make a lot of noise. They throw things. They you know, they bluff charge. But they don't attack. Now, had it been in a macaque group of the same species, there would have been a fight, and it would have been basically a small battle going on. Gotcha. So that's why I feel kind of safe. As long as I'm not cornering them, I'm not doing anything to challenge their escape, I'm good to go.
Do you think there's ever any do you think any Bigfoots have ever, you know, hurt humans in the US? Do you think that's happened? Is it a little bit common? I mean, just kind of where do you stand on that whole thing?
Well, here's the thing. Anybody that's ever reported, oh, I think this person was killed by a Bigfoot or this or that, there's been never really any documented evidence to support that. And as you know, being an investigator, I'm really big on documented evidence. And if people, all they can give us is anecdotes without an actual case, it means nothing. It's like somebody coming to me as an investigator and saying, oh yeah, well, that store next door was robbed last week. You know, and that's it. Like, okay, I don't have a report. And then I look at the police department and go, well, you don't know nothing about the store being robbed last month. So what do you have? You have this unsupported anecdotal story that this happened. And that's all we really have in all these, you know, all these killing things and kidnapping things. It's anecdotal. The only one that was really documented was the Falk, Arkansas Bobby Ford case, where he actually ran into a Bigfoot and fell back, and it was traumatized. So he wasn't really even attacked by a Sasquatch, but the Sasquatch stood its ground.
He was scared. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about people that claim that they were attacked? Like it's not, oh, this person's missing because Bigfoot took them, but
Yeah,
this Bigfoot tried to take me out.
Well, I was just going to chime in. I've heard a few stories, Alex, where people have been like slapped down,
Yeah,
but not really hurt, traumatized.
I
Yeah.
see.
Like
Yeah.
getting hit in the back of the neck with a big log, but not big enough to really hurt them.
Right.
And knock them down.
All within the possibility, because it's not really an attack. If it just goes like that to you like that, that's not really an attack.
No, right.
Yeah,
I mean, an attack.
they could have done much worse.
Right. Right. It's just pushing you out of the way.
Yeah.
A gorilla would do that to a human being, but it's not considered an attack. It's a little aggressive, yes, but it's not an attack.
Yeah, like a gorilla will grab somebody by the leg and drag them for 10 feet. That's it. And then they let go and run away.
Yeah.
They have been
just showing them.
bites.
Yeah, they're just showing them who's boss.
Who's boss, but also
leave me alone.
They're showing that they're afraid.
Yeah, that too.
Their fear. Yeah. I think they operate on fear. I think they're pretty afraid of people. I think we'd have a lot more sightings and a lot more instances.
The one primate that's not afraid of people are the chimpanzees.
Yeah, those stories are horrible. Oh God, I've got a lot of them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Really bad. What about numbers? Somebody in chat, I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Maybe I can even pull it up. Like, yeah, what did you estimate on the population? You ever thought of that?
Many years ago when I was new to this, I would say,
let's just say east of the Mississippi.
East of
the Mississippi, how many do you think there could be?
I would have to go by Meldrum's estimates that I know in New York State, there's probably about 200, 250 of them. Okay. And that's by Dr. Meldrum's estimates based on, how the bear study, remember the bear study? That was all twisted.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Because with the bear study never ever explained was, then why is Ohio like the fourth highest in Bigfoot sightings when Ohio does not have a bear population? Can't answer that.
And why? Point. Okay, Steve, I've always wondered why doesn't Ohio have bears? Makes no sense. Seems like perfect habitat for bears.
They have some, but it's nothing. It's like their count may be 100 or less.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And for whatever reason, I mean, you got to understand, much of Ohio is flat. Much of Ohio is flat like Kansas. You get, the eastern part of that state has a lot of mountains, but once you get to over those mountains, especially when I hit there and I drive from Ohio to Kentucky or to Alabama, when I hit that spur, once I get past a certain spur, I'm like, I can see for miles.
Yeah.
And that's so yeah, that's why I think that they kind of avoid states like that are very flat for the most part.
Well, Minnesota though is flat until you get into the northern regions, but we have 40,000 black bears in that small northern region.
I don't know why, I couldn't explain it, but yeah, it's just one of those things. But I don't think Kansas has a lot of black bears either.
Well, no, not Kansas. I wouldn't expect Kansas to.
They don't have much of anything except wheat and corn.
Yeah.
So do you think they travel in like packs of 5 or like are they, this group of let's say 250?
He meant to say groups.
Yeah.
Yes, they're not pods, they're not tribes.
School. Is there
school?
How many you travel in there? Bigfoot.
A gaggle of how many are in a gaggle of Sasquatch? I do not know because I mean, if you look at most of the primate living models, is that they do live in groups, but all of them like to wander around during the day, and that's what they call their home range. And chimpanzees can wander around in a day up to I believe 8 miles. So, and that's what really began when I did my second book, What Would Sasquatch Do? And looking at primate behavior to see if it can enhance our efforts to have a little more success in our Bigfoot research. So that's why I always look for those territorial behaviors, the ones that are angry, the ones that are throwing stuff. And then you start looking at other sighting reports and saying, well, it was kind of aggressive here, it was also aggressive here, but here not so much, and here not so much. And you start seeing these little patterns start to develop. So now you're thinking, all right, this is where I need to be, but I don't want to encroach in their territory, because what's going to happen is they're going to turn around and leave. That's their natural defense. Okay, if humans are here, we're going to move.
Yeah.
So what you try to do is get as close to that territory as possible and draw out their natural curiosity, because primates are naturally curious.
Yeah.
And we talked about that earlier. When something comes boom outside, we all look out the window to see what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, whereas other animals will hide. They'll run under, you know, they'll get under the table, they'll get under the beds, they'll get under whatever.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't
we're like,
matter what it is. If it's
Right.
outside, we look out the window.
don't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good analogy. That was a really good analogy. We could hear like the most massive explosion and gunfire. We're still gonna go look out the window.
Where was that? Yeah.
Which is
Yep.
weird. So, would it be safe to say maybe 1,500 east of the 1,500 creatures east of the Mississippi River? Would that seem unreasonable?
And my complete, unadulterated, uneducated guess, yeah, probably about $2,000.
Yeah. Okay. It just sounds about right for some reason.
Yeah.
It sounds about right. You know, I don't know why. So your investigative skills obviously give you a handle on people.
Right.
I used to be a PI for a while, and it definitely gives you a good, I don't know. It makes you skeptical for sure of a lot of things, right? And it makes you very a little more inquisitive and a little more creative and blah blah blah. But how has that affected you? And are you still doing that? Are you still?
Well, no, I actually recently retired from the field.
Oh, okay.
And actually I had started back in October, going back and working in EMS again. And so I work for an ambulance company.
Wow.
And unfortunately, March 4th, I got hit by a tractor trailer twice. And my cervical neck is a mess. And the MRI just proved that. So I don't know if I'll be returning to that, or I might be permanently out of the game. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I do have right now, and it's amazing because the chiropractors looked at me and said, how the hell are you walking? How are you not in pain?
I mean, Steve,
because I
you
have
look like
3 discs. I have 3 discs that are in contact with my spinal cord.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
which
here I
is
am.
crazy because it looks like you're about to jump out of your chair. You look, I mean, you just have energy coming off of you. I don't know where you get it, but I want
Well,
some of it.
I always feel it in the morning, throughout the day. The morning is like the worst, and then by the rest of the day, I move forward. But yeah, I did leave to answer your question, make a short answer already too long. I did get out of private investigation last year.
Yeah, I could only take that for about 4 years. That would burn me out, man.
Well, I wasn't sitting up and watching people. I did that for a very short period of time, but since I was a trained interviewer, because when I started doing my loss prevention investigation jobs, I used to work with organized retail crime units. So
I did see that too.
I was trained in a couple of methods of interview interrogation technique. At the time, the FBI was going to the Reed School. I've done the Reed School. Then now they're sending them to the Wicklander group. I did the Wicklander way back in 99. I did the Reed in 94. So I got really good at that. And a lot of times insurance companies, I would refuse to do surveillance anymore. I could do that. I'm like, no. So what they would do is they would put me in the special investigations unit, and they would have me go out and talk to witnesses and talk to the people that are making claims and stuff like that. And they were like, what do you think? That would be their answer to that. So I did very well with that for many years. And not to mention, I would still do loss prevention work too, and interviewing suspects. I mean, over the years, I probably interviewed over 3,000 arrests.
Wow.
It was just in arrests and other individuals. I actually had an arson case that led me to a murder case. Back about just before COVID, probably a year or two before COVID.
From start to finish, how has your ability to read people like evolved? As you got more experience, like, do you feel like you have a much better grasp on whether or not someone's telling the truth?
See, that's all. Just wait. That's how Steve knew you were cheating. He knew you were cheating in the trivia. He was reading you.
And we know when his camera goes out, he's grabbing a donut.
Oh yeah, and a donut.
Yeah, like anything, like anything, whether you're a professional baseball player, football player, an artist, you get better as time goes on. You learn some things, you learn some good shortcuts, and you learn some telltale signs. And a lot of times, and what people don't understand is that hoaxing is very similar to a lot of the other crimes that go on. Because when you think about it, what is a crime? It's getting over on somebody. I'm going to steal your stuff. I'm going to make you pay for blackmail. I'm going to kill you and get away with it and stuff like that. Whereas, hoaxing is the same thing. It's trying to get over on a person or a population. And it's just another form. I mean, stealing and lying and white collar crime and blue collar, that's all fraud. And if you think about it, that's what hoaxing is too, is fraud. So it all kind of, the behavioral traits are the same for hoaxers when they are intentionally hoaxing. There is the unique thing to this field is that there is a psychological element to hoaxing and not necessarily even hoaxing itself. It's people we went out and we saw 20 Bigfoot today. And, they're taking pictures and seeing Bigfoot in every bit of the trees. There's a psychological element to those. And I'm covering a lot of that in my new book, which is coming out the end of May. But the focus is that, over time, you hear these catchphrases in different ways. People say things. It's almost like, all right, I've heard that 1,000 times before when somebody's trying to. One of the biggest tells is what we call the objection. And that's like when I'm interviewing somebody and they go, and you're sitting there saying, I saw this Bigfoot across the road in front of me, and it was big and it was hairy, yada, 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 and all this detail. And, I wouldn't lie about that. Oh, really? Or they would make a comment like, well, my father's, my father's a police officer. I wouldn't lie about this stuff.
Matt Moneymaker said to me one time, he goes, when I get a report that starts out, me and my friend, he would a lot of times just wink and get tossed. Me and my friend.
Yep.
He knew there were some young hoodlums that were writing up a bogus report. But in general, have you found many face-to-face witnesses that you've gone out to visit or have met with over the years? Would you find the majority of them are being honest?
The majority are being honest. I do not. I'm trying to think if there was anybody that I ever met face to face that actually lied. I'm sure I have, but it's been so many. It's like, and a lot of times if I go out to meet somebody and they whatever, I kind of just put that aside and move on. Yeah, I usually take on the more habitual offenders in the community, but yeah, I mean, a lot of times though, it can be psychological. I remember this one woman had a really good sighting, yada yada, and then a week later, she starts taking pictures, and she sees Bigfoot in the pictures.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there he is. There he is. And I went over there and I said, no, come here. And we took her to the site. You see that plant over there? Because I'm trying to help her work for this. Exactly. It's a twig or something, whatever. Oh, okay. And then the next day I get a phone call. Oh, it was the wrong one. It was over here.
Oh,
And I'm like,
yeah.
yep, I'm not playing this game. It's
Is there a word for that, Steve? Is there a word for that?
well, I know
Yes.
people that the term that we use in the Bigfoot community is Bigfoot on the brain,
Okay.
right? The term I use for it, PTSD. The sighting has caused them so much stress, so much anxiety that now they're seeing it everywhere. Just like some of the vets that come back, they hear a certain thing, it triggers them, and now they're seeing the enemy everywhere.
So
Even though
you're
they're in
thinking some of these people have actually seen a
Yeah,
Bigfoot, but now they
some.
can't. They're so afraid they see it
Right,
at
right.
every shadow.
Some. There's a percentage that are big, Bigfoot in the brain / PTSD. There are some because they have that psychological need to belong to a group and kind of elevate themselves. And that has a lot to do with their lack of ego. And those people with lack of ego will act like the biggest egos of them all. Look at this. We're going out, we're doing our research today, and we had 10. You want to learn how to get Sasquatch? You just come see my next podcast. I'll tell you how to get into the Sasquatch and tell you how we, that's the kind of stuff we look at. And it's not for money. There's some of their channels are not monetized. Some of them are doing it on Facebook for nothing. It's because they want to feel important and they want to feel part of a community. It's a psychological need. And sometimes two like individuals will meet, and then you have a pair of those people doing the same exact thing. And that's just one part of it. There was a famous case of a guy posting on Facebook of these screen caps of this Bigfoot in the window. And it turns out he had a very ugly, nasty criminal record, which kind of probably shied him from most of society. Well, it was very apparent because I dug into it. He never owned the property he said he owned. He never, in fact, where he lived was kind of a very heavily populated suburban area just outside the city. So he was, and his story did not just match up with these pictures. And eventually it came out that those pictures were a screen grab off some guy who was testing an app on a phone. He just happened to post it on YouTube. Hey, look at this cool little app that I put up, with this Bigfoot looking in the window. And he admitted it was just CGI. But this guy took screen caps of that and started posting it and claiming it as his own, claiming, well, my film was destroyed at my mom's house, yada, yada. And
don't you agree, Steve? You like the witnesses where you've almost have to extract the story.
Yes.
Or you have people like Pat Collins who had a sighting. They don't even really. I've been trying to get it like Pat on. Tell your story. Yeah, it was just boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't.
It was a road crossing.
What they're looking for. What they're looking for is validation.
Yeah.
They want to say, "Am I nuts? Am I really nuts? Did I really see this?" And that's what they're looking for. And as an investigator,
that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing.
As an investigator, if they are being honest and truthful to me, and believe me, I can see that because let's face it, it's not hard to tell when a person's having a truthful Bigfoot report, especially when especially when it's not in their wheelhouse. With me, it was in my wheelhouse, so I didn't have that. I was pretty stunned, as you can see in that video. I was like talking like this, and it was like over there, but. You have some people that are in pieces because it wasn't in their wheelhouse. And when you interview these people, you can start seeing the shallow breathing, the jugular vein distension, the goosebumps on their arm, their hair standing up as they're retelling the story. So it's very easy to see this in legitimate witnesses. And they're not looking for money. They're not looking for fame. They're not even necessarily looking to be on a podcast. Which is why I protect my people. A lot of times I'll ask them if they want to be on the podcast and we'll protect their identity and do all that stuff and all the fun stuff, but they don't have to be. And sometimes I'll do it, because I've instilled a little bit of confidence in them. And, but as an investigator, it's my job to come up from, not necessarily for my client. Right now, if I believe in my client, I'm going to look for that corroborating evidence. And if I can find some corroboration, and it was on the Monster Quest that was where the three girls had run up the hill, or they were on the hill. They came down, they saw something standing in there, they screamed, and they ran off. Well, there was a second part of that story that wasn't on Monster Quest because the two guys were pretty much disturbed about it. And that's the girls went back up the hill. They told these two guys, and the guys escorted them down the hill. When they got to the bottom of the hill, the tree actually was down at the end of the trail, which had not been down earlier that night. They stepped over it. They got the girls across the street over at the lodge where their cars were parked. The girls left, and two guys go, hey, let's go check out and see what was up the hill. So they start walking up the hill, and one of the guys had just come back from Iraq. He was in the Second Gulf War. And he's up the hill, and he's like, stop. See that over my right shoulder? And behind him, crouched down, and it was 5 foot tall. Behind a tree was the Sasquatch that the girls had just seen. And they kind of just like, yeah, let's get out of here. And he says, it was weirdest thing. We just laughed. But that's a natural reaction to sometimes people getting afraid. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And they're running. So I go up with Bill Brand the next, literally within 2 days of that. And we there's photographs on my website of this, but you see the tree down. And this is where that sighting was. And I start going up the hill, and the kid, Scooter, would not even go back up the hill. He sat in the back of his pickup truck and just looked like this the whole time.
Wow.
He would not go back up the hill. So we go back up the hill, and there I actually track it because you could see. And that's, again, one of those things. The longer you're in the business, you learn these things like tracking and, hunting and stuff. And you see all this brush on the ground matted down in a direction. And as I'm looking up, 5'9", 6 foot, I'm seeing all these tree breaks in the woods where something had just right down to the road. And that's where I lost it. And then funny thing is, it was almost across the road from where they had left their cars. So I found that kind of interesting too.
Yeah, that is. There's a couple of good questions. One, Will Starr asked about your thoughts on migration. We talked about that today. Why don't you? And then another question I thought was really cool, real original, was about, are there ever any sightings in forest fire areas that have been burned over and are regrowing? Any activity in those areas?
Well, New York State doesn't have a lot of burn. I mean, we're not like California or even Montana. We haven't had a rip-roaring, we haven't had a rip-roaring forest fire in as long as I can remember. So we may have small ones, but nothing where we're bringing in resources from out of state or anything like that, strangely. So I really don't have much experience on that, but I haven't heard of anything in New York State about any of that. But do they migrate? Well, one of the things in looking at primate studies is that primates are not necessarily migratory, but they will migrate if food or the weather gets a little inclement. They may migrate to another area for a while. Now, think about it in our terms, like Homo sapiens. The Aboriginal Native Americans had summer homes and winter homes. And why was that? Because of food and a little more protection from winter. So again, we're seeing primates of all the groupings, both Homo sapien and what we believe, at least in this area, is that they're here for the summer months in the Adirondacks. And what they do is, as winter approaches, they move to the Green Mountains of the Adirondacks. And guess what little town is in the middle of that? The Bigfoot capital of New York, Whitehall. And that's why you're getting all this activity all year round, is because of that movement. And the big difference is like the Adirondacks on the east side of Lake George are mainly, maple, oak, birch, and those trees tend to most of those trees lose their leaves in the wintertime.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why the field of vision changes, the cover from snow changes, the cover from elements change. So that's why I think they moved to the Green Mountains, because they're the Green Mountains, because they're green year round, and there are a lot of deciduous pines and fir trees and conifers there that they can get under and have protection as well as provide a food source.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it's a good time before we get into forest fires and logging and all that kind of topic. Let's go to a quick break, Alex.
That sounds good.
Hanger One Publishing. Books that explore the unknown.
They're after my story.
Legends leap off the pages of our books.
You think you're the only one? They're under my heels too.
From UFOs to cryptids, Bigfoot and beyond.
Who's behind all this?
Hanger One Publishing, where every legend is revealed.
It's Hanger One Publishing. They're unraveling all of our mysteries.
Dive in, real videos, sights and sounds with our immersive book technology.
I guess our secrets are out now. But in the best possible way.
From Bigfoot tracks to galactic trails, we cover it all.
We should get out of here before it's too late. You're right, let's plan.
Escaping reality? Dive into ours. Hanger One Publishing, revealing the universe's best kept secrets, one book at a time.
Hey Untold Radio Network fans, want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
And we are back. We are back. I would like to thank, before we get started again, thank Lori Barnes and John Ayers for moderating.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate it. And got a great crowd in chat tonight. Steve, okay. Logging, edges, forest fires, things that change the environment quickly. New housing development, things that really do happen quick. What do you think the effect is? What are your thoughts on all that? Like a reprod area versus old growth.
Right. Well, what I will say is when we had the, one of the things that affected, believe it or not, a lot of activity was the pandemic. And what happened was a lot of people went to the forests. Now, I'll give you a good story. How is this going to affect? And that's why I think that, last couple of years were kind of quiet.
Yeah.
2021, 2022 were really quiet up there. There wasn't really much to report on. In my entire time of going up to my research 1, which is is my mainstay area, I have seen from 2000 until 2020, 1 forest ranger, 1. And that forest ranger showed up the day we were shooting with Nat Geo. And he was in his tie and his Class A uniform and actually was very open to the belief that it's possible Sasquatch might exist, which was kind of awesome.
Yeah.
So in May of 2020, when they actually early May, it was like May 5th or whatever, we had been cooped up for a couple of months in the house. I was like to the wife, come on, let's go up. Oh, she was my fiance at the time, but we decided let's go up to research 1 and just tromp around during the day, do something. I'm sick of being cooped up in the house. We drive up there and there's cars everywhere. And there's 2 forest rangers standing there. So I'm like, yep, turn right around and leave. You know, at that point, there was just so many people flooding the parks and camping and doing stuff year round before the season began, after the season was out. So it was kind of moot for a couple of years to go up to that area. So I ended up going to a couple of other research areas I have as well. And, you know, now I was up there, you know, every year I test it in about this time of year. And it was kind of funny. It was a little late last year in getting it done. So I went up with Eric Swanson, who wanted to videotape my encounters. When we got up there was nobody up there in the middle of, and it was like a Wednesday. It was middle of the day. Nobody's up there. I'm like, that's pretty good. But the one strange thing is that going up there for so many years, I have a feeling for the environment now there. Now, you know, people talk about us getting out of touch with our environment and stuff like that. That's not true. If you go up to an area enough times, and at that point in time, it was, you know, here it is, year 23, you know, it started 2000, now it's 2023. And 2023. And I'm up there and I'm going, it's really quiet up here for the daytime. Really quiet. Like it's off. Going. And I even said to Eric, I think they're back. Just what makes you say that? Coming up here, you know, I know what it's like when it's normal up here, when there's nothing going on, but it's really quiet. Listen. And it was like, you don't hear birds. You don't hear anything. And I go, it's not us. I've been up here plenty of times, and you know, they're used to people coming in out of there, but here we are, and all of a sudden, you know, everything is just dead when we get out. It wasn't like it stopped. It was just dead. So then again, we go out on the 20th, you know, in August or September of 2023 after the Whitehall, and we get that vocalization. So if you go to an area enough times, you will automatically process. It's like being at home, you know, when something's not right at home, or there's something not right in the house, you automatically feel that because you actually attune yourself to that environment. Environmental attunement has nothing to do with being in the woods, because you don't live in the woods, right? We live at home. And if something is off in your neighborhood, like, boy, the neighborhood's awfully quiet today. What the hell's going on? That's our environment. That's what we're used to. That's what we're in tune to. So, you know, it's possible if you're at other places enough times, you will get in tune to that environment as well.
But what about, I'm just talking about areas, okay, they've logged 20, 30 years ago. Are those areas better than old growth forest? This is my specific question.
I don't know, but I will tell you something that, and the reason why I started on that, because I kind of got off point on that, was that
Steve, you were so off point on that, it wasn't even fun.
Well, it went into another. In my research area 1 nearby, there was a lot of logging going on during the pandemic. So I don't know if it was the number of people or that logging that it wasn't close to the area. It was down towards the middle of the mountain. But I think it may have disturbed them a little bit in some of their patterns.
Yeah, I've heard that, where people they have a cabin. Everything's good. They've been going to their cabin for 30 years. Never no Bigfoot activity. They start logging across the river or whatever. And all of a sudden their house is getting pelted with stones every night. And they're going, what the hell is going on?
Yep.
And they'll ask them, is there logging going on nearby? Something that's stirring them up?
But here's the interesting thing. That may be for, say, your local neighborhoods, as I would call them, those little areas. But as a whole, if I look at that whole map between Vermont, Whitehall, and that eastern swath of the Adirondack Park, there's been no change.
Well,
there's been some movement. There's been some movement.
But development, Steve, is so much slower in the mountains.
Oh yeah,
versus the flat areas where it's easy to build, right?
Right. Yeah, there is no plans. There's been a few houses that have been put on the road up to the mountain. They paved even some of the road up to the mountain,
right?
But it really, because the mountain is so far out, and believe it or not, to the northwest of, well, see where the spot is. To the northwest is Whitehall, right? But that northwest corridor, there's no roads. There's no paved roads. There's not even unpaved roads in some of those areas. It's just straight forest. And there's too many watersheds, too many creeks, too many rocks, too many boulders that they're not planning on putting anything there.
Is your active research area ever been logged?
Nearby, and see, here's the difference, is that my research area is actually on state land. So it doesn't get logged by logging groups unless it's for a specific ecological reason. And I haven't seen logging at a certain point on that road ever. It's always been, going up to the hill, I see logging here, logging there. But once I start getting into the park area, that's it. It's done.
Yeah. And what do you think about sightings that happen on the edge, like on the edge of a farm in a wooded corridor, near a creek where a golf course might be?
I took a sighting. I took a sighting at a town dump. We Fulton County, over near Gloversville, there was a sighting by the town dump, and then about 2 months later, there was another sighting within a couple of miles to the dump, and I talked to that young gentleman at the time. Yeah. But we have in 1974, we have the Cliff Spark sighting at the golf course in Whitehall, which is smack in between the Pulteney River and Abear Road. So,
do you think they're going to these edges though for? I mean, my theory is they punch into these edges because there's so many deer and so many mammals that hang out on those edges. But I don't think they live there, but they kind of come in and maybe hunt and do whatever they're doing and get the hell out again.
Very true. But you also have to consider as well the mischievous curiosity of the primate. Like, I'm going to try to push this to the edge a little bit and take a look and see what's going on over here.
Yeah, that could be part of it. Sure.
Because truthfully, I don't think I've seen too many deer on Route 4, going through Whitehall and up the road. The deer, in fact, I haven't seen really that many deer at all in Whitehall, except in my area, which is completely south of it, Whitehall.
Well, describe your area. Describe your area, Steve. Just describe it.
So the area I have is at the very east part of the Adirondack State Park, east of Lake George, probably within 8 to 12 miles of Whitehall, New York. There are several mountains in that range. There is certain clearings. There's one that actually has a name in a clearing, and there's some watershed areas that are to the south of the area.
Okay.
And
any power line cuts in your research area or near there?
No.
Railroad tracks.
Now the railroad tracks are not in my research. They're more closer to my research area too, but they're across the Pulteney River. Research area 2 is in Vermont, which sits right on the border with Whitehall. And north of Whitehall, you have a pretty good railroad cut. And I actually, in 2003, and I was on Monster Quest, I had a couple of kids who had seen a creature on the railroad cut. They weren't supposed to play. And if you ever talk to the film crew that did that, Mike Wafer did a wonderful job. We were shooting on there, and all of a sudden, we're shooting the shot, and you see me talking, and in the background, we hear, like, we better get out of here quick. So we shoot the scene real quick. We get off the tracks, and within a minute, here comes this Amtrak train doing 75 miles an hour right through. Like, well, now I know why the kids didn't tell their parents, because they were told not to play on the railroad tracks for a reason. But yeah, we don't have too many railroads. There was actually a sighting many years ago in the 70s in Castleton, Vermont. Was it Castleton? Yeah, it was Castleton. On a place called Bird Mountain. And at the time in Bird Mountain, there was a ski resort. And the family that owned the ski resort, the Davises, had seen what they believed was a family of 4 of them cutting across from one swath of the forest over this the slope, which is now green because it's the middle of summer, into another swath of the forest. And at that time, there was a lot of weird stuff going on. There was a farm, the Grabowskis in that area had a sighting. Dr. Warren Cook's daughter And Dr. Warren Cook was an anthropologist at Castleton State University, a Pulitzer Prize nominated one at that, who actually put on one of the first Bigfoot conferences in Castleton State University back in the late 70s. And it was so overbearing, they had to close some of the roads there. They had to get police out there to direct traffic. That's how bad it was, or crowded it was, I should say. And there have been a whole string of sightings in that area.
Yeah. Patrick asked how many times I've been to Whitehall. Only once, Patrick. But it was a long trip, actually. I was there quite a while. Yeah, really cool area. Love it. He actually had some kind of weird. I was telling Steve about what happened to us in Whitehall with the chest speeding that started out far away and kept coming closer and closer. And eventually it was right on top of us. What else can do that, Steve? I mean, yeah, we know grouse can make grouse noises, but this wasn't a grouse at like 2 a.m. or whatever the hell it was.
No,
And
there are some really, I was over on, in research too, on the New York side of research too. And we heard something howling on the New York side. And then we'd hear on the Vermont side this bird. Turns out the bird was an eastern screech owl, but whatever was on the New York side, it was just responding to whatever the one on the New York side was doing. It was not, it wasn't a bird on the other side. And we ran it through BirdNet too, and it came up as nothing really that was anything close to what it could have been. So very, very interesting. And I know I see Outback Orchard said it's called Bird's Eye Mountain. We've always called it Bird Mountain, and that came from the locals that were there. They called it Bird Mountain, but could be called Bird's Eye, and they just shortened it on us.
I was gonna ask Steve. Well, actually, Patrick was asking, what do you think about Sasquatches being on the autism spectrum, or just even their intelligence in general?
No idea. Again, I'm an investigator first and foremost, so I can't really speak as to. I can't speak as a primatologist. Are there? I would say if you have questions about that, look at Google chimps on the autism spectrum or Google gorillas on the autism spectrum. That would probably give you as much insight as anybody can, is looking at that. But that off the head, I don't really know myself.
That's good advice. That's very good advice. Yeah, unless you had some personal encounter where they do something autistic, Steve wouldn't know.
Yeah. I've heard of one that seemed a little bit slow in the Four Corners area. One of the investigators down there, J.C. Johnson, and I've talked to a lot of the Dene, which is known as the Navajo, and they've told me too. They had one in Lower Fruitland, New Mexico, that was in their cornfields, and they said this one kind of looked kind of dopey. And it was kind of interesting because I talked to like 2 different people that had said, yeah, I've seen that one down there. He kind of walks a little bit funny. He's kind of dopey. He looks like he's slow. He looks like, so I don't know. Is it possible?
Well, actually, what I think of autism, I think of stemming, rocking back and forth.
But the thing is that primates rock back and forth a lot of times too. And I think we lost Doug. He's on mute. Doug, you're on mute.
Hey, Dad, your mic went out again. Yeah, we're gonna be rebuilding his studio come next week. It's just been a disaster. It's been 2 hours. If we can't get his sound back, we could certainly wrap up. Otherwise, we could continue the interview.
The show's going on over there. It's fun watching Doug just narrate.
So
there he is.
What? Are you there? I think you're back. You wanna say something, Dad?
You guys.
Hey, you're back.
Yeah, you were muted for a second. We don't understand what for that whole man. And then all of a sudden you came off of mute.
There we go. Okay. So, Alex, my thing, just so you know, reverted again.
Yeah, we're gonna be rebuilding your whole setup. It's so bizarre.
Changes all my defaults on my computer for no reason in the middle of nowhere. It's really weird. What I was saying is autistic behavior I'm thinking of is stemming, rocking back and forth. Repeated behaviors like that, like drumming, hiding, organizing sticks, stones. Those are autistic traits that I have noticed. I wouldn't jump to that conclusion yet, but it's a great, it's kind of a cool hypothesis that can be tested at some point.
Well,
but
Autumn Williams had a great idea on that too. When Autumn was researching, she thought that a lot of some of the stick structure and stuff like that was just the young Sasquatch just playing around with stuff.
Right. Yep.
But I'm not sold on every stick structure. Again, that's a lot of that too is playing into the Bigfoot on the brain and everything is Bigfoot.
We don't know if they even build one. We have no idea.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. No one's ever seen one. I've never met a witness that, hey, I saw a Bigfoot, building something.
Yeah.
What's interesting is in legitimate science, we do have a professor who has analyzed tree breaks. And they have a structural engineer degree. And so that conclusion is going to be coming out. And so there is some evidence to things that can be analyzed scientifically. Somebody else asked real quick, and I'll answer. I want to ask you about bones that you may have found, Steve, but somebody asked about when's Legend Meets Science coming out. Well, we just did a big shoot. We've got another big shoot coming up on infrasound that we're doing, but these shoots are like weeks apart because we have no money. So we're just kind of, we wait until we get a little bit of money and then we can do a shoot. But we're closing in on it. I don't know when it's going to get done. It's going to get done when all the science is done. And that's the beauty. And that's why it will be really good, because we're not being hurried by a network that says, you got to have all this stuff done by next Wednesday. So hurry up and rush.
Yep.
We're having to take our time, but I think it's going to be, what we've done so far has been amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, it'll be as soon as I can, I guess. We might end up deciding to release like part 1, and then part 2 will follow them a few months after. So that may happen too. So we'll figure it out, but we just have shoots scheduled on a very regular basis. So there's good progress going on. So what about bones, Steve? Have you found deer bones with breaks in them?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I've seen some. I've seen the weirdest thing I've seen in relation that I could directly correlate with a Bigfoot is in Alabama in, I want to say 2007. There was a farm near Dothan, Alabama, that had a very strange occurrence of cattle dying. They lost like 3 of them, and they just were found, no apparent predatory attack, and they found an 18-inch print, 5-toed, 18-inch, wide, flat-footed, wide. I go out there and I look at the carcass, and they had one that had fallen like 4 or 5 days earlier. And it was a very young cow. And the first thing I always look at is, let me look at the hindquarters to see if there's any predation that went on. Because usually when a cat or an attack, they take the backside of the animal down first, and then they go up to the throat. And none of that was present. There were no slashes, bites, or anything like that. It just over it was. And I was kind of lucky because they've been sitting there for 5 days. The bugs, and all that skeletonized the underside of it.
Mm.
So we flip it over. We notice where the cranial saddle is, it's been popped. Its neck was broken.
Jeez.
And another curious thing, the jaw had a clean break right down the one side.
Wow. Okay.
And what that's telling me is something went like this. Grabbed it by the bottom jaw, grabbed it by the upper jaw, went.
Whoa.
And down it went.
Ouch.
But
and that's what it looked like. And that was the only signs of any trauma on that cattle at all.
But you don't know why it may have killed it. Like, was the liver missing? Was there any? Because it was too far gone when you got there, correct?
Well, the half of it was skeletonized, the bottom half.
Oh, okay.
But that made it easier to look at what was going on internally. Actually,
and how it probably died.
Yeah. And that's why when we flipped it over, you could see the neck was broken. Like, look, the bone where the neck is, it's there's the saddle, and it's completely out. And I'm like, huh. And then the jaw is just cracked. So, and actually that was the same. Remember I told you about seeing the black dark figure in the pasture?
Yeah.
That was the same pasture. That night we went out there. Okay. And the funny thing is, the cows were all there and they were all being quiet. And then all of a sudden the donkeys, because they had donkeys there to ward off any predators. And because that's what they do is they put donkeys, and they were braying all of a sudden. Like, oh, something's bothering them. And then all this nonsense, we had one guy spotted it with a thermal. By the time I got my bead on it, there he is. So I actually ran out to where that went into the woods, and I could hear it walking in the woods. And I'm ready to go in, and I look behind me, and nobody went with me. And I got thinking, well, this thing is breaking cows' necks. I think I'm going to hang out here.
Oh, jeez. That's pretty crazy. Do you think the government's just disinterested in these things? Do you think
they are?
Know anything?
I'm sure it's not like they have a secret room filled with Sasquatch treasures. I think we're just going to ignore it, deny it until we can deny it no more. And the reason being is, and there's, people say, well, are there cover-ups? There are cover-ups, but a lot of times they're at local levels.
That's what I think too.
Right. George is a great example. Dash cam video of a cop. He runs around. He's yelling the film. Hey, show yourself. Show yourself. There ain't anybody out here now. Identify yourself. County Sheriff's Department. Nobody does. But yet the next day, the sheriff goes out to a house nearby, and the college who shall be renamed nameless. Oh, I did it. I admit it. No, he didn't. The sheriff just doesn't want a ton of people running around his county with guns looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And that is the plus of it. And people say to me, well, look at the video. It doesn't. Hold on. Time. For the same reason I tell people not to look at videos, because it may fool them into believing something is real before hearing the story. We also have to do the same thing with this case. Don't look at the video. Listen to the story. The deputy story sounds good. The sheriff's story sounds like garbage. So it doesn't matter what we say about the video. That's all subjective. The sheriff never showed the suit that was involved. Never did any of that. So to me, it looks like the sheriff in this case is lying, not the actual witness who was the deputy.
Interesting. What advice would you have for any new researchers getting into the field, and what should they do when they get out in the field? What's your advice?
Well, my advice to anybody getting in is don't run your mouth so fast. Sit back, watch. Don't even ask questions for a while. Just watch. Watch for a few months. Then start asking questions. Find somebody that's been doing this for 25 to 30 years that seems ground-based. Let me put it to you that way. Seems like they know what they're doing and seems ground-based. And not seeing Sasquatch every other day. because that's just
because they're
that's-
so rare.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about an animal that maybe there's 5,000 across the United States, and these people are seeing them every other day, no matter where they go, too. So understand that. Look for somebody that's ground-based. Start asking questions. Learn about survival. Learn about, make sure you when you go to the forest, for crying out loud, it's not a camping trip. It's not a picnic. It is life and death. If you forget to bring something and you're going out hiking in the woods, you forget the wrong thing, it can be life or death. You always have to keep that in the mind. There are a lot of things out there in the forest, depending on where you are, that want to kill you because they see you as their next meal. So you got to keep reminiscent of that. There are a lot of things in the forest that may bite you that has venom in their fangs. There are a lot of things in the forest that fly around that suck your blood, and the transfer of that give you something very deadly and life-lasting. You must consider that. So those are just some of the top tips. Is before you learn about ABCs of Bigfoot, learn about, are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah. And you're taking a risk when you go out there, like you said. Just everyday nature can get you if you're not careful.
Yep. And it always gets the unprepared.
It's true. With that, where is the best place they can contact you if they want to contact you? You have a podcast. What night?
Well, we run 2 podcasts. We run the Bigfoot News on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, and on Sunday nights we do the 2-hour Bigfoot Squatch DTV live. Right. And that can be found at youtube.com/@SquatchDTV or SquatchDTV.com. And my website is SquatchDetective.com, and there you get some reading recommendations, including that great book, The Bigfoot Influencers, and my own books you can find there as well.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody in chat. What a great crowd. Want to leave everybody with a little bit of wisdom from the late Walt Disney, who said, all of your dreams can and will come true if you just have the courage to pursue them. So with that, thank you so much, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure, guys.
Yeah, it was really fun hanging out. Alex, thank you as always, and I will see you maybe tomorrow.
Sounds good. Good night, everyone.
Right, good night, everybody.
Bye.
Love y'all.
I call you up in the middle of the night, been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know where we belong. This ain't no ordinary love we got going on. I'll pick you up in my 59 Ford. We head on down the road until we get bored. Just you and me and the sun and the wind. If the rain should start falling, we'll head on home again. Everybody else can see where we belong. Oh, ain't no ordinary love we got going on. At the end of the world, together forever is one, and I'll wait. If ever you should be in doubt, and I'll pray they never can pull us apart, and I'll wait for the time when we'll be together every day. But I know if ever we'll be led astray,